Hi everyone, Paul Elam here with part 2 in my series on how to get laid. As I established in the first video, my theories on attracting women rest on a foundation of the personal pursuit of excellence and basic authenticity as a human being. I view these things, not pussy, as the primary objective. And I am satisfied in the knowledge that achieving those goals not only attracts women, but generally a better class of them. I remind you that one of the most important factors in arousing the sexual interest of women is power. One thing that Henry Kissinger, Mick Jagger, Scott Peterson, and your average gang leader have in common is that they have an avid following of very willing females. It does not matter if they are old, ugly, out of shape, violent, or even murderous. The fact is that they are men who demonstrate great personal power on some level. I think it is arguable that the type of power they display will also determine the type of woman they attract. Scott Peterson, as he sits on death row for the murder of his wife Lacey and their son Connor, gets marriage proposals and a flood of female fan mail on a regular basis. Do you want to make any wagers on the mental health of Scott Peterson's fan club? Is that some of the pussy you would sell your soul for? As any angler will tell you, when you fish with stink bait, you end up catching bottom feeders. That makes values and power a very important discussion. So with the goal of comparing standard PUA fare to the values-based approach, I want to pose some questions. What kind of power is there in scheming and manipulation? There is no doubt power there. Schemers and manipulators can go far in life. But do you trust a man whose integrity is disposable in the name of sex? If his integrity is an option where it concerns women, does he really have integrity to begin with? I have more questions, but I want to stop and focus on that one for a moment. For many men, probably most, male friendships are an integral part of healthy life. Sadly, the way many men act where it concerns women is a common threat to those friendships. Sexual competition is a strong force. So, with that in mind, where is your level of trust with a man whose general intent in the most important part of his life is to manipulate and con? If you consider a man like that someone to avoid, you're showing some wisdom. If he's your bro, then you're the hoe. Get mad at my saying that if you want to, but you know it's true. Now compare the guy in the plaid jacket with a pencil-thin mustache and more cliches than a David Futrell article to someone whose values rises above attempts to pass shit tests, toss negs, intentionally undermine someone's self-esteem, or do anything else that puts a con game over personal values. You see, that guy, the one who won't play, has power too. It may not be the kind of power that attracts women to thugs, murderers, and political tyrants, but it's still power, and it still attracts women. It's called having balls, and it should not be a newsflash that women like men with balls. Also, men with balls tend to like themselves. If you want to think about self-improvement, that might be a good place to start. Here's the deal, guys. You have a choice every day of your lives, not just whether you want personal power, but what kind of personal power you want. That choice will likely determine whether you can attract the rarity of a virtuous woman or whether you end up with a gaudy-looking piece of shit snorting coke in the nightclub restroom telling her BFFs about what she's doing behind your back. Men who don't go to bed with tramps, don't wake up with them, and don't generally end up facing them in a court of law. I actually recall talking to a man who spent the first 10 minutes of our conversation talking about how this topless dancer he was banging ended up clearing his apartment out of everything valuable, and that it took him nearly a year at his wages to replace all the shit that she stole. He wouldn't call the police, though, because the girl had problems, and ratting her out, as he put it, wasn't going to help. That was okay, though, the man told me, because he met another titty dancer. She wasn't at all like the other titty dancer. She was a real nice girl and would not think of doing anything bad to him at all. I bring this up for a couple of reasons. One, men can be incredibly, indescribably stupid where it concerns women. How do you think we ended up with so much power in feminism? In fact, I would argue that stupidity with women is the greatest design flaw in the human male, bar none. That makes values even more important. Because while most men are generally wired for profound sexual retardation, the breaker box is your values. That starts with one value so fundamental that it ensures success with women. And by that, I mean the kind of success that allows you to keep your shit, your freedom, and whatever level of personal dignity you want to maintain. That value is simple and elegant. That value is the belief that women are human beings. Now, if by my saying that women are human beings you think I mean some feminist social justice drivel about how women have been regarded as less than human for 100,000 years, that's not what I'm saying. That is the thoughts of the PUA's first cousin, the male feminist, another man with no values that can survive the will of a woman. What I am saying is that for at least the duration of recorded human history, women have been regarded as more than human beings. They have been elevated to a pedestal so high that we have made humility and accountability nearly impossible for them. Your power is in refusing to play by those rules. Your power is in making that refusal a personal value from which you will not retreat. Remember, any kind of perceived power works. There are women, lots of them, who get off on thugs and even on men who dwell in the darkest shadows of human evil. There are also women who get off on principled men who will not put up with their shit. And the beauty of that power is that it's simple. Don't treat women inherently any different than you treat men. Hold both sexes to the same standards. Hold everyone in your life accountable. Enable no one. Appease no one. Kiss no one's ass. Put yourself on a default setting of failing everyone's shit test. Oh, and have the consistency to expect the same treatment from others, including women. It is simple, and the only woman it will cost you is the kind of woman, if you get my drift, who will really cost you. That is the problem with so-called pickup artistry and game as I have seen it described by its leadership. It lacks cohesive values. It lacks standards. Men without standards are by and large men who cannot be trusted by other men any more than they can be trusted by women. Truth be known, they cannot even trust themselves. Ask the guy with the titty dancer in the empty apartment. He left a high-risk person alone in his apartment because his dick made the decision. In closing, I'll leave you with this thought. During my conversation with Roosh, he said that he is at the point in his life where he would rather just be with one woman with whom he could share life, that the time in his life for putting notches in his belt was done. When I asked him if he would ever consider getting married, his only hesitation seemed to be whether he could find the right woman with the right values in the right country where the laws could not pose a constant threat. I understand that. As Roosh implied, very few men will spend their whole lives as pussy hounds. That will leave most every PUA out there right now at some point in their lives facing the same dilemma that Roosh faces now. The laws do suck for men. But as for the right woman with the right values, all I can say is that largely depends on whether you are the right man with the right values. And I'm 1,000% certain that there is nothing in PUA teachings that will get you there. I will follow up soon with the third and final part of this series on how to get laid. I will be speaking about how practiced values turn into behaviors which are much more safe and reliable than techniques. Till then, see you next time.